Hello, and welcome to another harrowing episode of the Hellion Rebellion Rock and Roll Association, brought to you by Hollygeist. Let's do some moments of silence. You know, I love to do this. We got some unique ones here. Seemed like a week ago, the Grim Reaper was picking on bass players. This week, the Grim Reaper is picking on garage rockers. The first one, let me get my notes here, is Tony McPhee from a 60s garage band called the Groundhogs. All you influencers out there who promote the 1960s fuzzy garage rock sound and need to check out the Groundhogs, I'm sure you know about them. That's not a band I see represented very often. And the second one is, what's his name? Jack Lee from The Nerves. Actually, I don't know if The Nerves are a 60s garage rock band. Weren't they more of a 70s power pop band? I think that's kind of how they're classified. I've heard a few songs. Maybe they are from the 60s. I don't know, but Jack Lee from The Nerves, he passed away this week. So before we get started, let's go ahead and recognize these artists for their rock and roll achievements. Okay, may Mr. Tony McPhee and Mr. Jack Lee find the garages in heaven to be filled with beer stained Marshall amps and smudged up guitars who don't have like the strings like cut off at the ends, like the strings just hang off the ends of the guitars. May they find that in heaven and find their place and find happiness. Okay. Tonight we're going to. Oh man, I really want to say this band is from Athens, Georgia. They have a member or maybe a couple members from the state of Alabama. I could be wrong on this, but I want to say they're from Athens, Georgia. And the band in question are the Quadrajets. The Quadrajets would show up around 1995, and they would put out their last album in 2000. And I'm gonna assume they broke up probably in 2001 or 2002. I really couldn't find a lot of information on these guys, which is I thought was kind of funny. But I have to remember I grew up in the deep south of the United States, so if you were going to punk rock shows in the 90s, there's a good chance you saw this band or you had a chance to go see them because these guys were very active. In fact, I saw them. I actually don't even remember seeing these guys, but I remember seeing them. I think there might have been too much of this going on, but I do remember picking the 7-inch up. Uh, they play a style of music that yeah, it's lumped into punk rock, but it's rock and roll. Their feet are firmly rooted into the roots of rock and roll. It's just sped up rock and roll. I've heard Northern Europeans, Scandinavians refer to this style of music as action rock, which is kind of a cool term. Action rock would include bands like Nashville Pussy, the Helicopters, Backyard Babies, the Drunks. Who else would be a good one? The Dragons, the really early riverboat boat gambler stuff. Zeke would be a big action rock band. That's kind of what these guys do, or you can call them punk rock. It's kind of like the power pop thing. People call power pop like they call them punk bands. They're really it's pop rock, but it's just sped up, so it kind of falls into the punk rock thing. Um, it probably has a lot to do with how influential a band like Motorhead was. Nobody can categorize Motorhead. Is Motorhead a punk band? Is it a metal band? Were they a rock and roll band? Other than that, I don't know a lot about these guys. Never have. They were very prevalent in the South. They were very active. That's why I find it kind of strange that I can't find a lot of information about them. So if you know anything about these guys, please leave it in the comments below. Let's get the conversation started. I know in the 80s, 70s, punk rock wasn't a well received style of music in the Deep South, with the exception of, Florida had some bands. If you consider North Carolina to be a southern state, they had a bunch of groups. If you consider St. Louis to be somewhat of a southern city, they had a bunch of groups. And then, of course, you have the weird state of Texas. I don't even know what to say. I mean, for all the bullshit, crap politics that come out of that state. Here's a story about. Let me give you a story about Texas. You want to hear something funny? I remember going to a friend's house. I would go from Louisiana and I was going to Dallas, and I stopped at this diner, and it had to have been 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and I walk in, and these people are getting ready to go to work. They're drinking their coffee. You got truck drivers. There's some families who are in a booth eating breakfast. I mean, this is early in the morning. I don't know if they're about to take their kids to school. I don't know. I just stop in. I'm like, I'm going to get something to eat. And then there's this dude over in the corner in the diner by the jukebox wearing a leather jacket. It had to have been 70, 80 degrees outside. Sunglasses, playing acoustic rockabilly songs and like Link Ray songs. He's all dressed in black and he's just there doing his thing. And I'm like, what kind of fucking David Lynch movie did I just walk into? I mean, it was cool as hell, but it's just like, why are you playing here? And then why are you doing it at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning? I should have talked to you. I just ate and left. But that's the weird shit that goes on in Texas. So yeah, there were a lot of punk rock bands in Texas, but again, it was really it was kind of my generation that really brings punk rock into the Deep South, and the Quadrajets are definitely a part of that. So no more funny stories. Let's check out Athens, Georgia, or possibly the state of Alabama somewhere. The band known as the Quadrajets. Mm-mm. Ooh, that's a rocker. I like that one. I think they played that song when I saw them, but I can't be sure. No, 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 no. Don't do that. All right. Let's check out the second side. And for any of you out there who's wondering, I like to give a little history lesson or some odd information. A quadrajet was a style of carburetor that had four, what would you call those? Four tubes, four chambers, hence the name Quadra. Um, Popularized by GM, made by GM, uh, very, very nice carburetor. It's kind of funny that they put a Dodge on here. But yeah, ever since fuel injection, who really cares about carburetors unless you're talking about a lawnmower? So, okay, let's listen to the second side.
Or what will it take till you believe in me the way that I
I never get tired of that song, no matter who plays it. But I would say Fogerty plays it the best. So there you go, the Quadrajets from, I believe, Athens, Georgia. Could be Alabama. If you know anything, please leave it in the comments below. Thank you for spending your precious time with me tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I would think it would be very cool if this band had a reunion and did like a kind of a big tour. They were a great band. I actually remember them doing that song live. That I do remember. That's probably why I bought the 7-inch. All right. I will see everyone next time. Thank you.